So something is terribly wrong with this Drangyen, right? What do you think is wrong? Obviously, it is not properly tuned, right? This Drangyen is not tuned correctly. That's why we are getting horrible and unpleasant sound. So even if you know how to play a Drangyen, but if it is not tuned correctly, you are never going to get a soothing and pleasing sound, right? So today I'm going to show you how to make a tune for Drangyen, and I hope it will be useful to the beginner as well as those who are facing difficulties on how to tune a Drangyen, right? And tuning Drangyen is not as difficult as you may think. In fact, it is not necessary for someone to know how to play a Drangyen to know how to make a tune, right? Even if you don't know how to play a Drangyen, there is a tremendous possibility that you can at least learn how to make a tune, right? So let's do it. In order to tune a Drangyen, the only important thing that you need to do is to set the pitch for three musical notes which are going to be on the open string, right? So what are those three musical notes? Those three musical notes are La, Re and So. So if we set the pitch for these three musical notes, then 50% of our tuning is done, right? So as I said, these three musical notes are going to be on the open string. Now what is meant by open string? Open strings are those strings that we play without pressing with our fingers. For example, so these are open strings, right? I'm not pressing any finger. And on the other hand, if I press my fingers and then play, then these are called closed string. So generally, when we make a tune for not only Drangyen but for almost all the musical instruments, we do the tuning on the open string and not on the closed string, right? So as I said, we are going to set the pitch for three musical notes. Now let's try to find those musical notes on the string, right? So if you look at closer on the strings over the resonance box, these are the resonance box, right? And pardon me if you are not able to see these strings properly because of light, right? So if you look at the strings over the resonance box, we can see there are 7 number of strings, right? 2, 3 and 2, right? Now if you look at the strings over the neck, okay, this is a neck, then there are only 6, 2, 2, 2, altogether 6, right? Now how is this possible, right? We have 7 here and then 6 here. Obviously one of these string from the middle gets terminated here, right? It doesn't go all the way to the head, right? So some legend has it that the number of strings on the Drangyen is not 7, right, but 6.5. So if you want to know more about all these, I would recommend you to watch the Drangyen lessons by Lupin Khenson Doji on True Folk Musician YouTube channel. So getting back to the lesson, if you look at again at the strings of the resonance box, the 7 strings are divided into 3 groups. So the first group, which is on the upper side, consists of 2 strings, and this group is called La, right? So these two strings has same scales, but the lower one is 1 octave lower than the upper string. So what's mean by octave? In Dzongkha we called it Yangdin, right? It means that the lower string has the frequency as half as the frequency of the upper string. In other words, the frequency of the upper string has to be 2 times the frequency of the lower string. But anyhow, both of these string will have same scale, right? So now let's go to the group 2, which is at the middle. It consists of 3 strings. So here again all 3 strings has same scale, and they are going to be called re, right? But the lower 2 strings is 1 octave lower than the upper string, right? So which means the upper string has got the frequency 2 times that of the lower 2 strings. Now going to the third group on the lower side, right? So these 2 strings has same scale, and they are called so. So la, re, and so, right? And this here both the string has same scale as well as same octave. That means both the string has got same equal frequencies, right? So now we have group 1, group 2 at the middle, and group 3 at the lower side. La, re, and so. So as I said, we need to set the pitch for 3 musical notes, and those strings are going to be 1 from each group, right? Group 1, which is la, group 2 re, and group 3 so, right? So we are going to take one string. We are going to set the pitch for 1 string from each group. So for each group, that string will be the uppermost one. For example, for the group 1, we'll set the pitch for this upper string. For the group B, we'll take this upper, and for the group 3, we'll take the upper, right? So let's get started with our actual tuning. So setting the pitch for first string from the first group, right? First string from the first group, which is going to be our la, right? So we are going to set the pitch. So while setting the pitch for this string, we have to be careful about how tightly or loosely are we stretching the string, right? If we make it too tight, there is chances of breaking the string, right? So we need to be a little careful. And on the other hand, if we bring it low, then the string get loose and then sound vanishes, right? So we need to keep it at a comfortable level, right? So for my Drangyen, so I'm keeping at this pitch, right? Okay. So of the 3 strings, we have set the pitch for our first string, la, right? Now we need to set the pitch for other 2 strings. To find re and so, we need to know how to sing those 3 musical notes, la, re, and so, in the scale, right? For example, if our la is la, la, right? Then re will be la, la, re, so, like this, right? La, re, so. So you got to know how to sing these 3 musical notes on scale, right? La, re, so, la, re, so. So suppose your la is at this pitch, then our re and so will be la, la, re, so. because of this la, even re and so is also change. So that's how they are related to each other, right? So let's set the pitch back to where it was. Okay, we'll keep at this pitch, right? La, la. Okay, so our first string is done. So we are keeping at this pitch, right? We are setting at this pitch. La, re, right? La, re, la, re, la, re. So we got our re also, right? La, re, la, re. Then so will be la, re. So, right? So we are going to set our last strings from the last group, right? Third string from the third group, which is going to be so, right? So we are again taking the upper string. Re, so, so, la, re, so, right? So you have to know how to sing these three musical notes in scale, right? La, re, la, re, so, right? So we have set the pitch for one string from each group, right? Now we need to set the pitch for other strings. Now let's get back to group 1, right? So if we go back to the group 1, right, and then check our second string, it is at this pitch, right? So the one that we have set is, right? So as I said earlier, that the lower one is going to be one octave lower than the upper one, right? Right? See, that's how they are going to sound when it is synchronized, right? Right? Okay, see the upper one, the lower one. Both of these strings share same scale, but the lower one is one octave lower than the upper one. So our first group is done, right? Now going to the second group, which is at the middle, right? So we are going with the because our first string is already set, right? La, re, right? We are going with the second and third. So as I said, the lower two strings are one octave lower than the upper one, right? First one, and then third string in the third group. So the lower two here will have same scale as well as same octave, right? So this is how we are going to hear when it is synchronized. Now our array is done, second group is done, right? So now we are going to go with third group. So we have already set the pitch for one string, we just need to set the pitch for other string, right? So here, as I said, both of these strings are going to be in same scale with same octave, so it will be a lot easier to tune, right? This is the one that we have set, right? So almost 95% of our tuning is done. So maybe we need to do a little bit of refining, right? Going back to each group. So now we have completed our tuning for all the strings, right, in all the groups now. Now let's check it, right?